A man's been arrested in the shooting of former Lincoln Bridge member Jeremiah Buckner, also known as Echo. Court records show 20-year-old John Kennedy faces a charge of murder and robbery. That shooting happened early last January near Esquire Alley and Roy Wilkins Avenue. Buckner died at the scene. Court documents show he was driving for Uber at the time, and there is surveillance video of Kennedy approaching his car before shooting him.
Surveillance video shows both defendant and victim were standing in the open passenger side door of victim one's car. The surveillance video then shows that both defendant and the victim two fled as victim one fell out of the vehicle from the driver's side door. Victim one remained on the ground until LMPD responded and found victim one deceased at the scene.
His bond is set at $500,000. He'll be back in court on February 1st. Hear from those who knew Echo beginning tonight on WHAS 11 News at 4. Well, the man at the center of the investigation the night Breonna Taylor was killed was back in court today. Jamarcus was already in court Tuesday on outstanding charges after missing an original court date in October and going on the run. He's accused of using children to help transport and sell heroin. The judge raised his bond from $100,000 to $250,000 in that case. Well, then in a separate case today, we heard during his arrest earlier this week, officers had found large amounts of suspected meth, fentanyl, and ammunition. The judge set his bond with these new charges today at $50,000. He'll be back in court February 1st. In just about 30 minutes, we could learn when Brent Hankison will be retried. Last year, a federal jury declared a mistrial in the former LMPD detective's case centered on the use of excessive force when police killed Breonna Taylor. Just last month, U.S. District Court Judge Rebecca Grady Jennings settled with attorneys for a tentative mid to late October date for a retrial. Attorneys are also expected to finalize his defense team. Today's meeting is set for 12:30. Now to finding solutions in our hometown. Louisville's mayor announced a new effort to reduce gun violence, focusing on repeat offenders with violent histories. It's called the Prohibited Firearms Possessors Initiative. Our senior reporter Isaiah Kim Martinez shares how they're going to put more resources toward collecting evidence to make these arrests.
For a second year in a row, Louisville's homicide numbers have dropped, but the violence is still too high, says Mayor Craig Greenberg.
We must see more progress, quicker.
Greenberg introducing a new strategy Tuesday to get the most violent offenders off the streets. It hones in on people caught with guns who shouldn't have them by law, aka those with recent felony convictions.
If you're arrested with a gun tonight, Lieutenant Fox is going to have that information tonight or tomorrow morning. That's going to start that process immediately.
That process is called the Prohibited Firearms Possessors Initiative, or PFP. It consists of meetings between prosecutors, LMPD, and the Louisville ATF. These groups already work together in gun violence cases. What changes now, I'm told, is agency leaders will meet earlier in the legal process, sharing the evidence collected to see what other crimes a suspect could be connected to.
Well, a lot of times that doesn't come into fruition until much further down the road. We're already past grand jury hearings. We're already past, pleas being offered and things like that before they're getting the full picture.
Lieutenant Colonel Aaron Crowell says this is about internal accountability. Commonwealth's Attorney Jarena Weathers also speaking to us.
There's always just a small amount of people that are wreaking havoc, like I said earlier. So yes, the bigger part is to get the most dangerous ones off the streets and keep them in jail. That's the whole reason why we have the initiative.
The program takes a similar approach to LMPD's non-fatal shooting squad, launched last summer, dedicated to investigating the incidents where people aren't killed.
That's just a start, and then that's an increasingly narrow funnel as you go forward with gang involvement, criminal activity.
Greenberg has said in the past that some of the responsibility also falls on judges to ensure repeat offenders are held accountable. He doubled down on that Tuesday.
They are very aware of our view on this, of our city's need for their cooperation and for their focus on these gun violent crimes.
The city says leaders from each agency met officially on January 8th and identified 4 cases to review as a start. We're told the groups involved will meet monthly for this effort. Take a look now at the damage from a deadly home explosion in southern Indiana. This happened Monday in Du Bois County, just west of French Lick, Indiana. The explosion was heard for 10 miles and damaged homes a half-mile away. That's about 15 minutes from the French Lick Casino. Our John Charlton and chief photojournalist Philip Merle talked with one of the victim's family members.
I guess it came from this direction, and you can see what all it did up here.
His shed and workshop, evidence of the sheer force behind the huge blast next door.
See how it's bent? Look at that. It bent that.
But Kern Quackenbush isn't just a neighbor. He's family.
She's lost everything.
His sister lived in the house on the hill, a house completely obliterated. Kern was home for the explosion.
What was that? And, kind of rocked me like this, too. And I saw a ball of fire just went straight up out of the ground.
Once he could comprehend what just happened, Kern's mind went straight to his sister. It was 6:29 on the clock, he says, and she should have been home, but she had worked late Monday night.
And I managed to call her on the phone, little cell phone, and I relayed the information, and she said, "David is there."
David Baker was making supper. Search and rescue crews recovered the 66-year-old's body Tuesday morning. The floor and the entire house had collapsed, and he was found in the basement.
The victim was found beneath some appliances or halfway under some appliances in the basement. There wasn't a lot of debris that was on top of the victim. Most of the debris is in the debris field around the area.
The Indiana Department of Homeland Security says all indications point to this being a massive propane explosion. It could have been worse if the homes here were closer together and if Kern Qualkenbush's sister was actually home.
She's lost her home, lost her husband, lost all of her possessions. She's lost everything.
Officials with the Indiana Department of Homeland Security are encouraging people to have their home propane systems inspected regularly. Kern Qualkenbush, the brother-in-law you saw, had his inspected and said everything checked out.